I always feel bad for people that say they don't like animals. I truly think they are missing out.
You know, very serious business environment. It definitely brightens up their day.
Look, it's Ari.
The first thing that Fern said when she woke up was, pet, puppy. So, yeah, my kids love their doggy.
Owning pets has become much more common. Between 65 and 70% of households include some kind of a pet, and our relationship with our pets has changed a lot.
Savannah! Let's eat the ground.
About 80% of people who own pets consider those pets as a member of their family, which has been a shift over time. That has not always been the case.
They were my son and daughter. I don't have any kids, so they are my kids.
I like how if I'm feeling sad, my cats will just come up to me and then they'll start purring and making me feel better.
He's just a constant part of my life every day. I can't imagine my life without him.
Hi, are we here for surgery? What's the name of your pet?
Atlas.
Go ahead and remain in line. Do not go up the deck until your call.
It's about an hour, they said, so hopefully it's not that bad. Half-price vaccines can't, we can't fight those prices.
She's a cuddler. She likes to hang out on the bed. Being a solo parent, we'll do what we can.
He was found in the country running down the road in the middle of nowhere, and that's baby girl. And
they take our minds off of other things, we are dealing with my son's, he had an automobile accident and he was paralyzed from the neck down.
We're trying to save money anywhere we can. We're having to 24/7 help for him.
And this kind of gives us a break, We have to worry about somebody else.
There are 135 million pet dogs and cats in the United States. And as that number of pets has grown, and as that bond has deepened, which has been so good for humanity and for animals, more people seek out medical care for their pets. However, the business of veterinary care has not kept up. What has happened is that veterinary care in the United States is almost entirely provided through the market sector, right? So that means the for-profit or corporate sector. At the same time, veterinary prices in the market sector are going up and up and up, and they're going up at a rate that's higher than inflation. About 60% of American pet owners can afford to go to market sector providers, and their needs are being met. But about 40% of American pet owners don't have access to the market sector.
And that breaks down into about 1 in 5 people. Not 1 in 5 pet owners, it's 1 in 5 people in the United States. So that's huge. It's the same size as the baby boomer population.
The next question is, well, how many pets is that? We estimate that it's about 60 million pets that are these loved members of their family that are not getting the medical care they need.
I couldn't hospitalize her, and it was like $2,400. At that moment, I didn't have that, so.
Who's got $4, $5, $6, or sometimes thousands of dollars? These are our children, so
Think about healthcare for a family member, the cost or the impact of them not being able to receive proper healthcare. I think it really clarifies things.
That whole thing is what we call the access to veterinary care gap. There's no safety net for everybody else who's being left out.
Here she comes. What a good girl.
I remember being in undergrad and there was a pre-vet society. The dean from the vet school came to talk to us about what it's like to apply. And he said, statistically, only 1% of students who apply get into vet school. And he's like, so there's 100 of you here. That means one of you are going to get into vet school. And I remember being so focused, being like, well, I don't know what the rest of you guys are going to do with your life, but I'm the one, So that's the only career path I ever considered. It wasn't unusual to see clients trying to pursue services and they weren't able to afford them. But I think they are hopeful that the veterinary provider is going to be able to work with them. I was a provider that had to say, we can't move forward with this plan because you can't afford it. That is a horrible feeling. I remember clients getting angry, accusing me of only caring about the money and this is an animal and don't you love animals and how could you possibly be a veterinarian? When you go to bed at night, those cases pop up in your mind and you're like, what happened to that pet? How is that person feeling? I was thinking I picked the wrong field. Then I found Emancipet.
Number 5, we'll start in just a second here. No la presione tanto, pero esta va a ser la información básica de donde puede buscar la aplicación.
I have never loved a job as a veterinarian until I came to Emancipet.
If you're one of those vets that wants to do a difference, this is where you start.
The quick and easy way to describe Emancipet is that we're a nonprofit organization and we are on a mission to make veterinary care affordable and accessible for everybody.
Who's next? Oh my goodness. What's this little puppy doing here?
17 years ago, we were still only a spay-neuter organization.
Because we wanted to help prevent unwanted litters. We've since changed our thinking because there really was a need just for the basic, the foundation of veterinary care, which is preventive care.
All set, sister.
But one of the distinctions about the way Emancipet has chosen to deliver services is we deliver really high quality, really low cost veterinary care inside specifically low income and socially vulnerable neighborhoods. This is a community-owned, nonprofit organization, and it works because everybody does their part. Our part is to deliver veterinary medicine in a lower cost and more efficient way.
I hadn't had a pet in 20 years, but Emancipet is very affordable.
The clinicians who work for us do their part by choosing to work for a nonprofit.
85, we're good.
Registration ready. They have my teams doing anesthesia and then someone recovering. Someone bringing the dogs over and cleaning them and making sure they're prepped. And then I do the surgeries.
Something I didn't like about private practice sometimes is if they can't afford it, it's really hard for you to help them. And here that's not a problem. If someone cannot afford it, we actually can help.
And everything's good to go. Yeah.
But our clients also do a lot. In fact, they do the most. They bring their pets into the clinic, covering 70 to 80% of that cost. And then our donors, they contribute the other 20 to 30%. This community-owned nonprofit business model has the power to do something that sounds like it should be completely impossible. A community where all of the animals are taken care of, regardless of their individual owner's financial situation.
I was in a very negative, very abusive relationship. He was coming after me with a metal pipe one night. I didn't have anywhere I could go, and we ended up homeless. My mom said I should take him to the animal shelter, but I didn't know if he would end up living the rest of his life in a little cage.
I used to sleep in a lot of different places.
But Frere ended up making a little bit of a place for himself in the yard area of a concrete company. The guys that worked there were feeding him, and every month I'd put his flea treatment on him. I made sure he had that at least. He was better fed than I was. Most people I knew that had pets, homeless people, this is the center of their whole universe. They take great care. The animal eats before they eat. I would go by and see him when I could because I was a big mess. Emotionally, physically broken. And he was the only love I had left in the world at the time.
I moved out here by myself, don't know anybody out here, and so these dogs play a pretty important role in keeping me sane. Fantasia, who's my other dog, like I said, I had to take her to the vet when I first moved out here to Texas, and the bill came out to like $1,100 for a checkup and a week's worth of pills.
The thought that going to another vet just to get her baby vaccines, it would be like $700, and I've spent like less than $200 here, which is crazy. Like, it's the same exact medical attention. I don't understand the price tag associated with vets.
One of my fears about the market sector veterinary industry is as prices go up and up and up, people who once could afford veterinary care start to get priced out.
In a specialty hospital, you see this ivory tower version of medicine, and it's great to see. I'm glad that that's available, but that is just so inaccessible to most people.
An increasingly high number of veterinary practices are owned by corporations, and that comes with a lot of improvements in terms of technology and quality of care, but it can also drive up the price of care. Now, when something goes wrong, pet owners, they're in a really difficult situation.
When I told someone that we needed a deposit of $3,000 or the next best choice was euthanasia, doing that over and over again can be really taxing.
Neurology exam, a CT, radiographs, potential endoscopies. We're talking about like $6,000 on an operation. You're not entirely sure that's gonna work, or a series of diagnostics where they might come back inconclusive. They had to euthanize. Like, that was a lot of the cases, unfortunately.
And it's easy for people to kind of jump to the conclusion that that veterinarian is greedy or they're just trying to get your money, and that's not what's happening at all.
You have to be professional as well, so you can't cry. But at the same time, you're feeling inside like, I never put to sleep an animal without having a knot. Hey, you know, the next one's a puppy. They don't want to see a sad vet who just has baggage. You have to jump back in. That really burns you down.
What the solution has been in some veterinary practices is, okay, well, if you give us that pet, sign it over legally, we will take care of it, but then it's our pet and we're gonna adopt it out to the next person. I've actually witnessed that happen, and the people are just, they're in tears, they're emotional because they want their pet to survive. They also want to keep their pet.
These are family issues. Animals are parts of our family. The number of people seeking out low-cost options has been growing. And that leads me to believe that the access to vet care gap is getting bigger. That safety net that Emancipet's trying to create is a safety net for everybody. You might not need that safety net today, but you might need that safety net tomorrow. It's interesting when you think about what makes your life worth living. What gets you out of bed on a really hard day? It is love and relationships. That is what animals bring to us. And so if we're saying like, look, this is only gonna be something that really wealthy people get. You shouldn't have a pet. You don't need to have an animal in your life if you can't afford this market sector care. What we're actually saying is you're less than.
When you're homeless, either people are mean or you're invisible. Nobody came to see if I was okay, you know, nobody was there. And it's hard to imagine if you haven't been there, because it's like just nothing, absolutely nothing matters at that point. Luckily, I did have something that mattered.
Every time I went to see him, I would call him, and I would hear him meowing wherever he was. He would meow as loud as he could, and he would run. Just run as fast as he could to come run to me. This one time I went to him and I saw in his eyes, no matter how much of a mess I was, no matter the fact that I was not feeding him, I was not providing a place for him to live, even with nothing, he thought I was worth loving. And that's when I started staying out there with him.
It's a powerful thing to feel wanted, you know? He taught me to look inside myself for all the things I was trying to gain from outside. That was huge. I started making the phone calls I needed to make, filling out the forms I needed to fill out, and then
I wanted to get him to Emancipet when I knew he was due for his shots.
You know, I was trying so hard not to look homeless for this. I was scared if they found out I was homeless, they'd take him away. I really, really was. I had money to pay for the appointment that day, but I was so used to people imagining the worst, you know? One of the vet techs put 2 and 2 together. I was like begging them not to take him away. Don't take him away. I take good care of him. But they're like, no, we just weren't going to charge for the services. And then I started crying again because it was something so nice. It made me feel like a real member of society again.
When people sometimes hear about Emancipet's mission, the response is, well, if you can't afford a BMW, you probably shouldn't have a BMW. And I should not be giving you money so that you can have a BMW.
I have experienced in every sector of the field that I have worked in this mindset that people who don't have a certain amount of money, they're not taking care of their pets. That attitude is limiting our ability to help the pets in the community.
We're talking about something that has a much more powerful intrinsic impact on the community.
We're about to start here in a few seconds, okay?
I actually come from like a low income area. Going to vet services wasn't something that we were used to. But then we started learning about Emancipet.
If we cannot move the line closer to us, please.
The key innovation of what Emancipet's been doing for the last 24 years is simply to believe everybody loves their pets and they are going to do what is right for them when you just give them an opportunity to do it.
I'm usually the type to wake up 4 a.m., get here at 5 a.m., and wait for them to open so that I'm first in line.
Everyone who has ever loved an animal understands this idea. Animals are companionship, so you don't have to convince anybody to do anything.
Good morning, everyone. This here line is for spay neuter only.
We really do see the clients love their pets so much so that we can't keep up with the demands now.
We can still voucher you out, and I will explain vouchers shortly.
No matter how many times we go to a park, we're booked completely always. New clients, old clients, stray animals, animals from the community, bringing their own pets as well.
It's not just about, are you able to get a rabies vaccine? This is bigger than that.
It was either me or the shelter, and it just felt like the right thing to do.
Ooh, we've had a lot of ups and downs, huh, bud? She's been there through everything.
My mom passed away suddenly and she had 2 dogs, and I was like, I'm taking them. Now we're a big happy family.
When I met my husband, we met because of our dogs. They're the reason that we have a family.
After my divorce, all my money basically went towards her surgeries. She was what really pushed me to keep going. It's the way she looks at me, it's like, oh, sorry.
Every day, my technicians are trying to see about 10 pets in an hour, 8 hours a day. And every day without fail, we're having to shut our wait list down because we're not able to keep up with the demand that we're getting on a daily basis.
We turn people away from almost every line that we have now, and that's really painful. You don't want to say no to anybody. 1 organization, 10 organizations isn't enough. We're going to need a lot of organizations who are choosing to do this work. So We decided to take our mission and turn it into what we called a bold goal, something that would be really galvanizing. And that bold goal was, by 2028, everyone in the United States will have access to veterinary care they can afford. A lot of people are like, well, is that actually going to happen? And that was never the point. It was, what would shift if you acted like it was possible to achieve that goal?
I had worked for Emancipet for almost 5 years as a staff surgeon. But then I decided to start an academic position at Cornell University. 6 years had passed. The chief medical officer of Emancipet at the time called me and she was like, I'm leaving Emancipet. You should apply for the chief medical officer position. When I had left Emancipet, we just had our East Austin building. When I came for my interview, I was like, oh my goodness.
Since we've set that bold goal, we've opened like 1 new clinic every year. We have dramatically increased our capacity for services and expanded a mobile free day program.
And then we have more clinics in Houston and a couple up in Philadelphia.
We have this new dental and surgical center that's coming.
The growth is so impressive because in the early days, spay-neuter was everything that we did. Well, now we're providing low-cost dentistry, low-cost soft tissue surgery, and low-cost heartworm treatment. That's what I dream for Emancipet, is that someday we can provide for every possible condition that is out there. When I listen to our own team members talk about this type of work, everybody kind of feels like there's hope.
Everyone's asking, oh, okay, what is the model? I try to tell people all the time, like, there isn't one model. If the blueprint is just to meet people where they are and assume that they are going to show up when you start delivering care that is non-judgmental and priced in a way that people can afford, and you do it in a way that brings the whole community together as a nonprofit organization, it's gonna work. That's it. It just works.
We finally ended up, off the streets after we got approved for Section 8 housing. It kind of hit me at that point. We'd made it. Both of us made it, I mean, there's so many strays out there, and human and animal, There's so many animals out there that need to be loved. And so many people that need love too. So I think it would be good if we could pair them up. Yeah, he was, yeah. Oh, he's got commentary.
There's several reasons to be really hopeful.
Is this a movement?
So in order for something to be a movement, you have to have momentum. There is momentum. In the last couple of years, organizations and funders who never talked about it are starting to talk about access to care. It's showing up in conferences, like there's a whole track in a conference. We're also seeing it come out of the market sector. They're starting to say, what are we going to do about that?
More Emancipets are needed. Expanding our services and making sure that they are casting a wider net is probably our most critical concern.
But it can't just be us.
We want other organizations to know there's a different way to practice veterinary medicine in general.
I don't think we're quite at that place where it is a person-driven movement yet, but that consciousness rising of what animals mean to us and what they bring to our lives, but also their intrinsic right to be well. That rising consciousness is creating this moment where we can say, it's time now. Now we need the safety net. When somebody donates to Emancipet or to another nonprofit veterinary provider, that's what they're saying. They're saying, we want to be an animal culture because this is who we are. This is about, does everyone in our society have the opportunity to experience love? Because the love that people have with their pets changes their life. And that changes the world.